Who would like to give
I think
a
you got to the
summary?
good part. Sorry. I wasn't there, so.
So we got to the White Quills, where we met up with somebody high up in the White Quills. I can't remember his name. It starts with a D.
Decabulario or something. He's got like a million titles.
Yeah. Who was able to kind of help stabilize Samus, and Zarius was for the entire session attending to Samus, and then we were having a very lively discussion regarding the merits of Asheros versus Helwyr's wrong opinion. And then our conversation got too loud for our hosts, who very not so subtly turned out the lights on us. And then so we went to bed. We had a dream from Lokazika, who informed us that the Mordenkainen's mansion, or not mansion, the door to his that place
Banner.
may be more dangerous than we first thought, and it may have some connections with Orcus or the cult of Vecna, as well as a old paladin who may have fallen in terms of necromancy, which means there may be the presence of undead there. And so she gave us an out, which of course we're not going to take.
Says who?
And that we were to meet a messenger by the name of Road Shadow, who would provide us with some more information, and that according to Road Shadow, that we may be fugitives in the Watchtower. And so Lucia Rossi and Kajika went to investigate and discovered that, of course, it was from Helwyr's first interaction with the Marquess, with offering the ears and trying to bribe him. And so Lucia Rossi tried to offer to bring Helwyr to justice if there was some kind of leniency that could be showed, to which he seemed to agree, but then Lucia Rossi, being honorable and unable to lie, when the Marquess asked where we were staying, gave the exact place. And so now there are guards watching the White Quills to make sure that Helwyr doesn't try to run off. And then we had a pretty active discussion about whether or not Helwyr would face justice, and with our kind host offering a number of outs in terms of how we might be able to smuggle Helwyr out of the city, as well as the different potential consequences of being branded versus losing a hand. And
being beheaded, which Helwyr seemed very intent on, apparently.
Yeah, apparently he prefers being beheaded to branding and having a hand chopped off.
Right. The Duke was very much against your trying to smuggle him out without him being punished in some way. It was he has an advisor, the lady Contadina, who she was suggesting it would be really easy to smuggle him out.
Oh, right, yes.
So the Duke believes in the shit god Asheros as well, so that sort of made it a bit more awkward.
And then also it kind of turned into a conversation too, because Helwyr seemed so just unrepentant at all and seemed to indicate that he would continue harvesting elf ears and killing elves on sight. And despite Luciosi's attempts to state how that would hinder their ability to continue unassaulted in their mission with Lokazika and everything, and he was still like, no, I'm going to do this because this is my way, so whatever.
Right. And then he got a faraway look in his eyes, and in between sessions, in an email essentially from Helwyr's perspective, he did agree that so be it, he'll let the dwarf exact his punishment. So that's where we ended it. You were still having this conversation, and technically Helwyr has announced that he's willing to accept this punishment from the dwarf.
Oh, and also very
romantic encounter as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. You did omit the kiss, as it will come to be known.
Oh yes. Kajika trying to get that doily. So there was also the revelation that for some reason Helwyr has a tattoo of Lucirosi.
Lucirosi likes to block that out every time it comes to his attention.
Oh, did you see the picture? Did I send that through?
I don't recall seeing a picture.
I don't recall it either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you attached something it didn't send properly though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Might take me a little while there.
Are you using one of those weird Aussie programs for viewing pictures and files and stuff?
Yeah, you need to convert it so that it flips it back the right side up.
That makes sense. Copy image. Maybe it'll paste in here. Let's have a look. No, it didn't.
Yeah. So Kajika's still staring out the window, still sees the dwarf across the street, still holding on to his horse. And you're still in the White Quills having this conversation. At this point, a chambermaid, not one you've seen before.
Oh boy, hopefully that works.
Oh,
I doubt it, though.
that is a long link.
I'll delete that if I can.
Well, it's redirecting me. No, 440 login timeout.
Yeah. See what at my work, if I get a link like this, it gets put into spam and marked for security.
Over the weekend, I got like 50 emails from some place saying, "Oh, your debit is overdrawn," or something. But it was at work, and I can't tell you how many idiots clicked on the shit that got sent into there. and how many people were doing reply all when it's clearly to the entire agency.
Oh yeah,
it's just like
I know all too well. All too well.
My favorite ever was at the last company I worked. At some point, I forget who, but there was somebody sent around a picture that was like swimsuit photo of some model's name, and we got like this emergency, and I saw it popped up, and I was like, and I deleted it, and then like within 15 minutes, we started getting emails from IT saying, "Don't click that link." They're like, the system will be shut down for maintenance. Please, nobody else click that link.
Nah.
So anyway, you're still having this conversation. The Duke wandered off a while ago. The Contadina is still there, although she's offered her opinion, and she's now sort of sitting back and just sort of watching how you guys are going to resolve this. Like I said, this chambermaid you haven't seen before has come in, and she's cleaning up the remains of breakfast that had hung around a while because T-Hole never really left the room after eating. He may have left to put clothes on, so he's off trying to find clothes.
Anyways, I forwarded the email kind of thing. It's just
Yeah, it looks cool. Is it still raining out?
It looks like it's beginning to snow at this point.
Oh boy. So Lucirosi is still very much of the mindset of bringing Helwyr to the Marquess, asking for some clemency, because he's needed for this quest that we're currently underway, and also because he's given his word to the Marquess and he can't back out of that.
Yeah, so Helwyr was marching towards the door, and then he turns around and he says, should I bring my ears? Will they need them?
I think it would be best to properly lay the remains to rest.
Anyways, he stomps back into the room, grabs his pouch, leaves his weapons behind, and goes back to the front door.
Okay. Are you actually going outside?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you go outside, Kajika, you see the dwarf perks up as the door opens and he steps out. And then an alarm is sounded. He pulls a horn out from his belt and begins to blow it. Helwyr you do see this dwarf across the street who's clearly locked his eyes on you, but is now blowing a horn into the air. And very shortly, you see several guards come running around the corner. Probably not the same people who man the walls. They don't seem like they're regular army. They're probably town guard.
Do we all hear this?
Yeah, you
There's
definitely hear the horn. And you are quickly surrounded. And the
By
dwarf
Asheros. Alusharosi runs out and is waving. Wait, we are going to the Marquess.
Zarius finally stomps out of the room with the fucking guy. Samus, what are you pronouncing that? Samus. Yeah, Zarius finally stomps out. Quiet with the horn. There's a man sleeping inside.
And the dwarf who you spoke to previously steps into the crowd of guards and over to Lucirosi and says, yeah, you are going to the Chamberlain now. So they've all got spears out and are pointing them directly at Helwyr.
And Helwyr's like looking at them. He's just sizing them up.
So Lucirosi kind of puts his hand on Helwyr and says, as a paladin of Asheros and a former inquisitor, I have given my word to the Marquess that I will accompany this man to him to serve out his justice. There is no need for this, though. So if you could please put your weapons away. We are going in peace.
Well, if you don't mind, we're going to keep our weapons out. But you want to lead him in peace, you can lead him at spear point in peace. And they're sort of angling now to try to get him to march north, which would be in the direction of where you met with the Chamberlain.
Truly, there is no need for this. There is no need there will be no more violence shed today.
Well, we have it on good authority that he could kill many of us before we took him down.
If you are not elves, I am unarmed, so it is fine. And I look around. Is there any elves? Are there any elves in the party?
No, there are no elves in this group.
Okay, good.
And the dwarf relents and holds up a hand, and the spear points come up. They're not exactly putting them away, but they're not directly pointing them in your back.
Thank you. It is comforting to not be at spear point. We are going in peace. And then Luceroshi kind of nudges Helwyr to move forward.
Yeah, he just grunts and keeps moving.
All right.
What are Zarius and Kajika doing?
I mean, my understanding is this guy's not ready to wake up yet. But I mean, does he seem stable enough that maybe I can come with?
Yeah, he certainly seems as if he's stable. I mean, and the Duke is still around at least for another day or so. So it's not as if he'd be untended.
All right.
He's just not conscious yet.
Alrighty.
Kajika, are you going as well?
What did Helwyr leave behind? He left his pouch and some weapons.
No, he took the pouch. He left his weapons.
Oh, okay.
That's all I need.
I'm just imagining like a couple minutes later, it's like, oh, he's gonna need these weapons.
Nah, it's fine.
I'm gonna wait for them to start headed wherever they're going, and once not gonna let them get too far ahead, but once they start, I'm gonna start trailing behind.
Okay. So give me a stealth check.
Okay. Can we do this? 15.
Okay. As near as you can tell, you don't think they see you trailing them. But the dwarf, however, is he took a minute to get onto his horse and is now sort of riding alongside you. Through the snow, you make your way. The snow's pretty light. It's not like a storm or anything, but you make your way north back to the area around in which the Palace of the Marquess is. But you are sort of led to a side building where you see inside there is a page runs off and the Marquess comes back. This beardless dwarf who T-Hole hates. T-Hole missing all this because he was unable to find clothes.
Before we move on too quick, Zarius, are you close enough to Lucerosi and Helwyr that Lucerosi can try to do like a whisper that would just be heard amongst us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm around. I'm not.
Okay.
I myself am not very stealthy.
Okay.
And I doubt his his wide shoulders and deep voice would allow his voice to be super quiet, but
well, Lucerosi will kind of whisper, Helwyr, once again, you charge ahead without thought. We're still discussing exactly how we might try to find leniency, yet you just burst ahead.
Were you whispering to me as well?
Well, yeah, that was mostly for you.
I assume you just said that out loud in character. Were you whispering to me?
Yeah. Lucia Rosie's eyes would bug out and be like, "Are you? What? Biastros, what? Do play with me, giant."
If it is his will, it should be done. And it seems like he is a collector just like myself. Maybe I'll meet him.
This is foolish. We really need to get you in the habit of at least pausing before you act. It will be the undoing of all of us, I fear, if this continues.
Yeah, I just look up and wait for the beardless dwarf to say something.
Yeah.
So the Marquess comes in after the page is sent for him, and he essentially walks right up to you, Lucirosi, and says, I must admit, that was faster work than I was expecting. So, the monster has turned himself over. This will make things easier. Well, I thank you for your work, Paladin. We don't have a magistrate lined up just yet. I had thought you would take a few days. But we will take the monster into custody. He will be held in Harrowgate prison. I expect the severing of his arm will take place tomorrow morning.
Marquess, is there any way that we might seek some kind of leniency? The only reason that I request this is because, for the time being, this is my companion, and we are doing works that would serve Asheros's purpose. And were he to lose an arm or a hand, it would impair his ability to provide the services that we require of him.
Paladin.
Plus, I, on my oath as a paladin of Asheros, and despite my better judgment, I will accept full responsibility moving forward for any actions that this giant might take.
Give me a diplomacy or persuasion check, sorry.
Okay. You hear this, Helwyr? You fuck up, you're fucking up for both of us now.
If this is a bad diplomacy roll, this is going to be great for me.
All right, let's see. Where is it? So persuasion then?
Yep. Paladin, you need to understand, his losing an arm and not his life is leniency. How is it that I am going to take responsibility if he kills again? I understand you say you will, but you're not the one who will be blamed. I will, as the person who agreed to this deal. At least if he lost an arm, some of his lethal power would be somewhat cut short. No pun intended.
Yes, and this is true, but the quest that myself and my companions are currently undertaking will require strength of arms, and if the Goliath here is without his full capacities, it may mean endangering the rest of us.
Have you considered getting another companion?
It is not my choice as to who I am with currently. Plus, despite his vices, Helwyr here has proved himself worthy and as a tracker and as an ally in arms.
What he is saying is that he has issues, but to find another like him with a adequate skill set, we would be hard pressed.
And monster, he says, addressing you now, what are his skills that you value so highly?
I just looked at Lucirosi.
Well, I bet a midget cannot punch a gator in the face till it's dead.
Forgive me, Marquess. His way with words is as brutish as his actions.
This is the Chamberlain. You've never actually met the Marquess.
Oh, okay, the Chamberlain. Forgive me, Chamberlain, but his word, yeah, all that. What he has proven himself is in his abilities to lead through treacherous terrain. Not long ago, we had to travel through the swamp. Was there a name for that swamp?
The Bordermire.
Yeah, the Bordermire. And without his assistance, we would have been mired and lost for days, if not longer. Additionally, he has saved my life in combat before.
Very well. I suppose I could consent to his merely losing an eye.
So this is this the Marquess? Zarius says out loud. He's asking. He doesn't know.
Luciroshi kind of visibly goes like.
Zarius is like kind of like finally is like, hold on, is this?
And the guy sort of jangles the chain around his neck as if it should mean something to you, which it probably wouldn't. And he says, "No, I am the Lord High Chamberlain of Watchtower."
Chamberlain. Losing an eye would be equally devastating, as his skills are not only in arms, but as I mentioned, as a tracker and a guide through terrain that we ourselves could not navigate easily or even successfully. To lose his senses would further hamper our capacity to complete this quest. Might I ask if it is in the name of justice that he must lose an appendage or an eye, that his sentence could be commuted for the time being? Once again, I will accept full responsibility for anything that he should do between now and the completion of his sentence.
Unfortunately, if we were to commute his sentence, we might as well give up on punishing him entirely. It's not as if he's going to voluntarily walk back here, even if you tried to force him.
But
I believe I could make him.
once again, Chamberlain.
He's too dangerous to allow to remain in the city, very dangerous if we allow him to leave the city, and you're proposing that he walk off with no punishment at all.
Not no punishment, but that he is allowed to leave with his full capacities in limb and senses. Otherwise, he is no longer good for us to fulfill this quest. And as my companion has said, it would take far too long to find one of equal skill.
And he steps over. He is, being a dwarf, substantially shorter than Helwyr, but he steps over to Helwyr. And what about you, monster? Did you honestly expect you would come here and then your friend would negotiate for your freedom?
I'm very confused as to why a god would want to collect stuff, collect appendages, just like I have. Maybe I am a god.
And this is the man you're defending. He goes back to Lucirosi. He blasts in front of you.
Asheros's will is not always easy to know or understand. What I do know is that Asheros has seen fit to bring this creature into my path. And as such, it is my responsibility as his servant to bring light to those that have not, to those that live in shadow or do not know the proper way.
Our agreement was that he would lose an arm for his crimes. Then I will be willing to turn him over into your care. He will have to leave our town, but he may fulfill the will of Asheros with one arm, presumably. Asheros will give him the strength, I feel very sure.
I have an option. Maybe. We'll see. I shall place upon him a curse. A curse that will demand that he is unable to kill any elf.
Are you wearing, do you have like a holy symbol visible?
Yeah, probably.
Lucia Rossi is just kind of...
It's probably like just kind of visible. It's like the top of it.
Lucia Rossi, if he had glasses, he'd take them off and just kind of go, be like...
we got the Picard Riker double face palm.
Well,
a second use spawns to.
Let me see. First, roll me a persuasion check. Oh.
Yeah, go for it. Let's see what I could do here. Persuasion. It's too bad it's not intimidation. I'm better at this. All right.
Unfortunately, as we all know, a curse can be lifted.
And it could be reapplied.
Yes, but you could probably lift your own curse the moment you are out of my sight. Monster, do you accept our judgment that you lose an arm? That was our deal, he says to Lucia Rossi.
I understand what I agreed to, and I have brought Helwyr here to serve justice. I have only requested further mercy based on the trials that lie ahead for me, myself, and my companions. Unfortunately, if you are unable to see the need for Helwyr to have full use of his capacities, then I do not know what else I can offer. I have offered my allegiance as a paladin and my oath to see that he no longer brings harm to those that cannot defend themselves or are unworthy of some blah blah blah, and have accepted responsibility for whatever he may do in the interim. But if this is insufficient, I do not know what else that I might offer.
Well, frankly, I would assume you would prevent him from committing crimes, the crime of murder, whether or not we strike an agreement here.
Absolutely, that is certain. But I do not know many paladins such as I that would give their oath to take full responsibility and whatever justice or punishment might need to be met out in addition to their ward.
I will give you this much. Monster, you will be branded with an M on your forehead. The brand will be magical and difficult to remove. Do you accept this punishment?
Like, if the gods will it, it shall be done.
Very well. As I said earlier, he will be taken to Harrogate prison and held overnight. In the morning, a magistrate will appear in the courtyard at Harrogate prison. Usually there is a crowd there to see the punishments of the day. A list of his crimes will be read. The magistrate will approve our agreement. He will be branded and turned over to you. He will then have to leave the town within 24 hours.
Thank you, Chamberlain. You certainly are merciful as you are just.
Yes, I am. So he yells for the guards to take Helwyr away. And they lead Helwyr out. You can see Harrogate Prison from here. At least you can see the top of one of the towers of it. And he says, simply arrive there tomorrow at 9 in the morning.
Thank you.
Ooh,
As
here's my cellmate.
as Lucia Rossi, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. As a player, I'm like, somebody should probably go with him.
All right.
So what are you guys doing with the rest of your day?
On the walk back, I would probably just say to Lucia Rossi, I believe the man was already decided to brand. To go with the branding punishment. He just wished to hear you beg.
That may be. And if that is what was necessary in order to facilitate this, I am not above my pride. It does not please me to know that such vices might lie in those of such power, but it is what it is.
So is the prison close by, you said?
It's nearby the palace you were just at.
Okay. I want to go over near there and see when they take him in.
So you watch. There seems to be only one entrance. They lead him through this front entrance. It looks to be, to your eye, it probably wasn't originally a prison. It was probably a part of like an original wall because it's a pretty old fort. But it's been converted for use in a prison. You do see there is a sizable crowd inside, and there are cages both inside and outside. At the moment, they're empty, but clearly, and there's stocks at the moment which are empty, probably just because it's so cold out. But it clearly is a place where they carry out punishments.
Okay.
Once he goes in, though, it's hard to tell from the outside where exactly inside they're taking him. There seem to be two groups of buildings inside.
Is what's his name still around, or he's gone, right?
The Chamberlain's gone.
Okay. So I'm gonna beat feet back. Is the Duke still at the White Quills, or did he go?
No, he's in the tower. He just wasn't. He's no longer in the room where you were.
Okay.
But you could find him easily enough.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find him.
So you do. You come across him in what amounts to an office.
Okay.
Seems to be signing a lot of paperwork. His advisor is there next to him.
Well, there, Duke D, whatever your name is, it's really important. They're taking old Helwyr to Harrogate Prison. My concern is he going to make it through the night?
Well, as I said, it would be very unusual for the Chamberlain to make a deal with the Paladin of Asheros and then go against it. It would be quite a scandal.
Oh, well, all right. Well, we'll see in the morning, I guess.
Doesn't mean anything will happen.
So I am glad to hear that he has submitted himself to justice.
Well, if that's what you call it around here.
He did take the ears off of Elvis. He just looks confused at your statement. So what do people want to do for the day?
Well, one thing that I want to do is talk to sorry, what is your name again? Zarius. Zarius.
Yeah.
Zarius, I've been thinking on what you have said, and it is likely that the Chamberlain was wishing that I beg, but I do believe what I said about Asheros placing this child of darkness into my path to bring him to the light. And so perhaps it was likely or equally Asheros's will that I make this formal oath so that he does become my charge and I am unable to turn away from that responsibility.
I believe you put too much stock in your god. You see,
do you not put equal stock in yours?
Yeah, but my god's real.
No. What are the tenets of your god?
Asheros is the creator. He is
Of what?
Of all of us. Well, except for what is referred to as the corrupted. But he created the Celestials and humans, and he is the representation of light and justice.
Indeed.
He is life itself.
And if this is the case, be proud that he even gives you his power. But do not believe for even a moment that he has actual interest in the petty lives of the mortals.
Oh, Zarius, I am so sorry to hear that in your faith you have so little belief that the God that we worship, that we give thanks to, would not take interest in his creations. If that is your outlook, I shudder to think what your outlook is on your own deity, if you think that they are so distant.
Osiris sticks to his domain.
Kurt, with the way that the religions and everything are set up, do they allow for, like, at least the belief in Asheros in the church? Do they allow for the like a pantheon? Are the other gods acknowledged?
There are 3 other gods that are acknowledged. Other religions are usually thought of as being either like some weird reflection of one or more of the gods. Like these people just kind of have the doctrine wrong and are misidentifying what they're worshiping. Or demons. A lot of them are demons.
And what is Lucirosi's understanding of Osiris?
Well, some of them are just like false religions too. I mean, since you're traveling with him, I assume you would accept that he's worshiping the gods in some form.
Okay. And yeah, that's likely what I would think. But I was also just curious what like the common doctrine is with regards to other gods and relationships within the pantheon.
A lot of them are thought of as demons or devils.
Okay.
So is there anything anybody wants to do during the day?
Lucirosi is probably going to do a lot of prayer and maybe try and do what he can in the poorer parts of town, whether it's providing some gold to help the impoverished or any other kinds of things. I mean, I have right here that I have almost 200 gold pieces, so I'm sure I'd be fine with giving 100 gold pieces out to those more in need of it.
You're rich. I got 10.
I've been around a little bit longer.
I don't
Or I've
know.
been more
I don't know.
generous.
I don't know who's been recording what treasure you found, or if people have just been doing it independently. It may have been Dustin who was recording things. I don't really know.
I mean, I remember I recorded whatever I found, and then a percentage of any bigger things.
Because I know you
I thought-
haven't found a lot of actual like coin treasure, but you have found some. So I don't remember who was writing it down, if anyone.
I was writing it down on mine.
I just remember we were just giving everything to T-Hole.
Right, that's what I sort of remember too. Is T-Hole collecting all the magic stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe
So
I just assumed he was taking down notes on all the monetary stuff.
I took my portion.
So give me a charisma check.
All right. I'm good with those.
So as you're doing this, you find that within the town, there's not too many people in the town who are poor, but just outside the walls, it's essentially kind of like a smaller, poorer farming community that surrounds this. And that's where most of the people who are in need are. Like, they don't allow people to just wander the streets and beg. But outside the walls, they do allow people to exist as just sort of professional beggars. This is where all of the really destitute people in the city wind up. It's begging on the fringes near the gates. So, and while doing this, you begin to hear that it does seem as if a lot of money came into the city, but it didn't get necessarily distributed evenly. So there is a pretty sizable community of destitute and poor people who sort of cling to the sides of this town. You also hear that they themselves have, there's at least rumors of some monster that sweeps through these poorer parts of the city and carries people off in the night. But that's not an uncommon rumor for poorer parts of town.
Right. Yeah. Poor people die in the street, and then they're just kind of moved or other things, probably. Although, based on the strength of this rumor, how likely is Lucirosi to buy into it? Is there any kind of evidence that I might see of this, or does anybody provide any kind of actual potential proof?
No, not really. It's mostly in the form of I heard of a guy whose baby disappeared in the night stories.
Okay.
So are Zarius or Kajika doing anything?
Zarius is probably just tending to Samus some more.
Okay.
Picking up some of that whatever that skill is.
Medicine? I think you're proficient in medicine.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Wait, are you not?
No, I am.
Okay.
Is that what the one guide was using too?
He was. He actually has a couple of feats and expertise in medicine. Like you suspect if you had like a lot of time to train with him that you probably could get better at the medicine skill.
Thank you.
What's Kajika doing?
In order to get ammo, do I need to buy components and make it, or?
Yeah, you would need to buy components and make it.
Okay.
It wouldn't be hard. You could just do that for the day.
Okay.
And then I think it's a Tinker's Tools check to actually make it.
Okay.
I wrote that up at some point. Okay, so later that night, Helwyr, you are in you wouldn't even consider this to be a cell. It's almost like a somewhat small apartment. There's a fireplace and a chair and a bed, but the door is very, very thick and securely locked. Like there would be no just banging your way through it. And there's a small section of the door is covered in bars so that guards can see in and you can see out. It appears as if you were the only person in the cells in this section of the prison that they led you into. They did almost immediately take your pouch and anything else on you other than your bare clothing. And they did search you just to see if you were hiding weapons. So if you were...
No, I wasn't hiding weapons. I would have tried to bribe them with my ears, though, to give me a better cell.
Jesus Christ.
Well, that might have worked, but they didn't. They did take all the ears, and you did wind up in this sort of nice cell with a fire.
So, to Helwyr's imagination, success.
Yeah, this is better than my house. Like,
see, collecting ears works.
But in the night before they're supposed to come and brand you, the Chamberlain comes in and comes up to the bars and says, "I'm glad you turned yourself in. I thought I should let you know. Tomorrow morning at probably around 8 in the morning, we will lead you out. You will be chained to a post for public inspection. You can almost certainly expect there will be a crowd to have gathered to hear the listing of your crimes and watch the sentence being carried out. During that reading, you may, depending on the mood of the crowd, be pelted with fruit. Most people don't throw fruit in the winter, so I think you'll be safe, but it has been known to happen. You may want to show as much remorse as you can fake. I know I would. Oh, Goliath, we meet again. I had hoped to arrest you the first time when you came to meet me after you offered me the ears. You really presented me with quite an opportunity then, but you slipped away. I guess I underestimated you. And I understand that since then you rescued Holbein. Although the rumor is that Algator is now just a smoking ruin. So many lives lost. What a shame.
Yes, I wonder what happened to those elves. I hope they're all dead.
Oh, very good. I had thought you were going to say you didn't kill them. But I suppose it doesn't really matter now. You may not know, but we've had several disappearances here in our town. Not elves, mind you, and only a handful if you compare them to all that went missing in Algator. But maybe one every 1 or 2 days has disappeared in the past 6 months or so. It's starting to add up. Of course, it would be hard to blame that on you, as it's unrelated to what was going on in the Elven village. But curiously, we did find the ears of Lady Amphilus Reardon in your pouch.
Oh, God.
Yes, I mixed up halfling ears every now and then.
What a monster you are. When the public hears of this, there's going to be quite an outcry. She was a beloved figure, and her murder, among so many others, and the very light sentence you've been given, well, it will be a shock to many. And we also had an attack by giants. Your kin, I believe? Well,
cousins.
Yes. The common understanding is that you're essentially a giant yourself. So it's no doubt that the people of the town will assume you were in league with them. I might as well throw that on the list of charges against you, in fact. I mean, after all, it's just one punishment for all of your crimes, so the more the merrier. It will be hard for a dwarf like me, when confronted with the full extent of your crimes, as I will have to read them aloud, to let you go with such a light punishment. Let's wait for him to come back.
Oh, I'm still listening.
Yeah,
My
Sorry,
headphones are about to die, so.
Brendan was away from his microphone.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Someone just bashing on my door.
Luckily for you, one does not defy the four churches. And despite your absurdly light sentence, it was negotiated by a paladin. Your personal friend, I believe? But you should expect some disquiet among the crowd, doubly so given the revelation that we found the remains of so many infants in your pouch. As I understand it, Goliaths eat babies. They're a delicacy among your kind, isn't that correct?
I think you're grasping at straws now, midget.
Well, as you say, I suppose. But how do you explain the remains of so many children amongst your possessions?
They are not children, they're elves. And most of them were adults.
In addition to the elves, the tiny arms and fingers and toes, do you eat them like peas?
I do not. Helwyr is very confused.
Well, in any event, that will also be something that will no doubt rile up the crowd. And then me, with the opportunity to end the threat you pose, and doing nothing but branding you, that will probably upset the crowd greatly. But I have to do it. That friend of yours has the authority of the paladins of Asheros, and it binds me to let you go free, unthinkable as it is. Imagine how brave I would have to be to defy the churches. The people would be astonished to see me do such a thing. My popularity and power in this town would become the stuff of legend, I think. And it would confirm all of those recent rumors of church corruption that a paladin was trying to let you go free.
But you're just a puny little dwarf, aren't you?
Oh, exactly. The crowd would be clamoring for me to impose a stricter punishment, but the church would surely come down upon me, and then the people would see that the church was corrupt. We can't have that. The crowd might indeed take matters into their own hands. They might demand that I take greater action, and then you would be left at my mercy. And as he says this, you see he looks like he's beginning to grow fatter. He's not growing any taller, but his neck seems to be sort of disappearing in rolls of fat that are forming around it as his skin begins to turn sickly gray. And you see a blue vein sort of snake its way up his face, and then more begin to sort of erupt, covering his face in these veins. And two horns, black, curl up and break through the skin and out of his forehead, poking up into the air. And then he continues on saying, "My mercy, oh, monster, how amusing that is, for you see, oh, my brother, how I look forward to this, as I have no mercy. You will sacrifice yourself for my greater glory." And he then turns on his heel, and you see, even as he turns, almost instantly, all of those features disappear. And he looks again just like a beardless dwarf. And he walks his way right out through the door. And you hear a clang of the door behind him. A few minutes later, the guard who was watching you, who you guess he sent away, comes back in.
Yeah?
Dude, your boss is weird.
So the morning comes and they lead you out, and as the Chamberlain says, you are manacled around a post on a raised platform in the middle of this of the courtyard of this prison that you were in. Almost immediately, when they open the gates, crowds come flooding in. They seem to be somewhat agitated, although it's, kind of like this is clearly like entertainment for them. So they are interested to see both who is going to be punished and how. They don't necessarily know that it's you in particular, although you do begin to hear whispers as you're there waiting for the magistrate and the chamberlain to show up. People seem to be are being informed of who you are and what you're being punished for.
I assume definitely have gotten up early to go.
Yeah, you get tomatoes as well. So. Yeah, you're good to go.
So you guys arrive. There's already a pretty sizable crowd, and you see Helwyr is, like I said, chained to a post. He's not in his normal clothes. They seem to have given him relatively warmer clothes so that he can stand outside for a prolonged period of time. It's not snowing now. In fact, it's bright and sunny today, but snows did continue to fall through the night. So there's some snows in here and there in the courtyard and outside. It's pretty muddy. It's stone floor inside the courtyard, but there's been a lot of horse traffic back and forth over time. So it's all stained with mud. You also begin to hear that this guy is responsible for the murder of Lady Amphilis, that he's responsible for the deaths of several children, that he eats babies, that he has murdered a bunch of elves. And everyone seems to be waiting on the magistrate and the chamberlain to get going, but you would guess that they expect an execution.
Okay.
The chamberlain comes out of the building with an older human male behind him. And he proceeds to read off a list of the charges, which includes him murdering and cutting off the ears of elves, him killing Lady Amphilis, well-known philanthropist here in town, him cutting off her ears and stuffing them into her pouch, the disappearances of many people over the past several months, and how, although there's not direct evidence of it, he believes that some of the body parts of infants that were found in the pouch probably come from some of the infants who have disappeared here in town. And that must mean that Helwyr has something to do with the disappearance of other people here in town over the prior months. Not to mention the fact that he's a giant and giants recently attacked. And who's to say what intelligence he's been feeding them since he's been allowed to walk free here in town. But the chamberlain continues, a paladin of Asheros has come to me and said that this creature, this murderous monster, is very important to the church, and that we must, if we want Asheros' will to be done, let them go free. Let him go free. I don't know, my friends, my fellow townsfolk, if we can allow this to happen, but I can't say no to the churches, can I? I don't want him to hurt any of you. I want to protect you all, but my hands are bound. Granted that this beast is a personal friend of this paladin, but what can I do? Can I defy the churches? Should I defy the churches? And the crowd begins yelling, yeah, defy the churches!
Lucirosi turns to Zarius and is like, what is happening? Wait, did you say that the pouch had baby parts in it too?
Yes.
So says the chamberlain.
Yeah, but
Now,
would you really put it past Helwyr?
No. Lucirosi has never personally inspected the pouch. So, although Lucirosi did see Helwyr dump it out in front of the chamberlain the first time, and he did see all the things he put in and knew that he didn't have any contact with babies in the meantime.
Right. You also saw him dump it out on the island in Amras's hut, and it was filled with ears. And it was empty after that because he had to leave everything behind.
Yeah.
So Zarius will actually start to move forward. Is he like ground level or up on
He's up on a very low raised platform, the same one that the post Helwyr is chained to is in.
Well, I mean, Helwyr is who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, he's up on a platform. He's only about 4 feet higher than ground level though.
Okay, I walk up and like start yelling out, "Defy the churches!" And I go to touch Helwyr and cast Feign Death.
Okay.
Okay.
What does it do?
It makes you appear dead, though not actually dead.
Oh, okay.
You will be unconscious for an hour.
So the crowd doesn't so much. The crowd is actually very thick, so you really it takes a while to fight your way through the crowd, but you fight your way up and do this. None of the crowd are stepping on this platform. Only the Chamberlain and the Magistrate and Helwyr are on this platform. Everyone else, although they're not being held back, is kind of respectfully staying off of it. So there's a little bit of a when you actually step up on the platform, which you notice is emblazoned with one of those symbols that looks a lot like the holy symbol that Lucia has. It's all across this platform. But you step up there. The crowd is not so happy that a Dragonborn has pushed through their whole mass, and shocked that you stepped on this obviously religiously significant platform. But you touch him, and I assume he doesn't get a save, or that you're going to purposely.
He has to be willing, technically.
Okay. So is Helwyr willing to pretend to be dead?
Yes, so yeah. I just go with it.
Arius is just like, go with it.
Okay. Yeah, if I recognized you, I would have just went with it.
Or do you trust me?
Trust falls. Here we go.
Bro, do you trust me?
Hold on just a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just approach and defy the churches. And it just like touch 2 fingers to his forehead and say, death. And his eyes roll back and goes limp.
So he goes limp. The crowd is in an uproar now that he has gone limp. And the Chamberlain comes over and says, "You creature are not allowed on this platform." And a bunch of guards that had been sort of holding the crowd within a certain section of this courtyard come rushing up and are now sort of pushing you back into the crowd off the platform.
I go back, yeah.
The Chamberlain then goes and inspects Helwyr. He appears to be possibly dead. It appears as though this creature has killed his compatriot, but we will make sure. Take him to the guillotine.
Yeah, the beheading I wanted.
And you can see there are both a gallows and a guillotine in this courtyard.
So at that point,
can I wake up?
Lucia he goes to Zarius and asks, "What have you done?"
Divide the churches.
Fuck the church, no. Assuming that the crowd isn't really going to hear what I say because they're too.
Yeah.
I'd say I cast a spell that made him appear dead through all inspections.
Okay. So he's not dead?
No.
Lucia is he really sees this as a problem. That this entire town is now suddenly against the church, and that the Chamberlain is going against his word. So at that point, Lucia pulls his head down and lets loose a huge lioness roar as golden energy sprouts from his back and wings form. And then he'll fly up and just above and face the Chamberlain and say, "You have broken your oath to Asheros." And then he'll turn to the crowd and say, "The crimes that this man has listed are a lie. I can vouch and state firmly that there were no child parts in that bag, and that he had not killed Lady Amphilis."
Would you trust another monster hidden and disguised as a paladin of Asheros? This lion probably ate Lucirosi. Guards, take him to the guillotine now. And he reaches out and he touches. His one finger comes to rest on Helwyr. And there's a brilliant burst of light from the sun that almost seems to come down like a beam and strike the Chamberlain and Helwyr. Helwyr, you wake up in agonizing pain despite the spell. You appear to be on fire, as does the Chamberlain.
Just take it, man. It's all part of the plan.
And the Chamberlain's body sort of begins to bulge and twist as he begins to grow fatter and larger until he's standing about 12 feet tall, but maybe 8 or 9 feet wide. And his skin has turned a very dark gray and veins have begun to snake around his body, these blue veins. He now has devilish horns. And you can just feel a sense of evil coming off of him like you've never felt before, as he's screaming as this fire burns through his seemingly necrotic flesh. And these greenish bat-like wings begin to unfurl on his back with these blue, diseased-looking spots on them, also being lit up by this fire. And he's... all at once, you can see, like, everyone now is sort of focusing on this a bit, as they don't necessarily know whether or not to be afraid of the lion, or if this guy is somehow, if the lion's telling the truth and they're not actually in league together. But the Chamberlain yells, "This can't be! My plans cannot brook this. Away, Asheros." And you see slowly the sun begins to dim as an eclipse begins to form. And he says, "My ally is stronger than yours, Paladin." And everybody can roll initiative.
Yeah, Lucirosi takes out shit, what's its name?
Salasri.
Takes out Salasri and says, "We shall see," as he charges. Initiative.
Don't forget to click on your character before you roll initiative.
I just figured that out.
Oh, yes. I would have forgotten. That would have been...
I did forget.
Hey, all right.
I haven't even... Mine isn't loaded properly yet, I guess.
Scroll down. You might not see everything.
Yeah, no, it's fully black. I'm gonna do a refresh on the Roll20, so it should be fine.
Let me just check to see. Maybe your token isn't, for some reason, registering as having sight.
It's just, yeah, it's all black. So
Well, that's weird.
I saw the like the red ping which someone did, but
Yeah, that's all black.
By the way,
Yeah, that's okay.
well, I'll not worth mentioning right now.
Huh. Well, from what I can see, you should be able to see.
I can make marks on the board, but I can't see my characters. I just see black squares.
Because I can see your character, and it seems like your character has sight. So,
Where is it?
I'll do a Roll20 like full refresh. I'll close the browser.
Okay, that's where we are.
Ah,
why did it just went? I found it, and then it's like, no, you're not here anymore, and it went back to the black.
Right. You guys are essentially at the back, except for Zarius is pushed up. I guess Lucirosi is flying overhead now.
Yeah.
Oh hell.
Teal's not here. Teal is still finding pants.
I still got, yeah, it's full black. It's a full black screen.
Boy, I
Oh,
got...
maybe you didn't wake up.
Yeah. But you just throw a torch on there, maybe that'll work.
I don't know that will do it, but I can pull a torch up.
Yeah, I don't think so. It literally looks like the backdrop of like where a map is meant to be, but it's not there. So it's just black grids.
So there's a torch on there now.
Yeah, no, I still can't see anything.
I assume other people can see this.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
So yeah, you may want to log out and log back in.
Yeah, okay. It's okay.
Lucirosi is not on my initiative tracker.
I clicked my character. Shall I reroll, or do you want to just input it?
I can input it.
Oh, yeah, I think I got something. Oh, yeah, I can see now. Yeah, sweet. Alright, so initiative.
So
Yeah, I'll take that one. Unless, yeah, he's got 18, so I'm going to use my advantage one and see if I get higher. Okay, that's cool.
let me just switch. Can't find for some reason the Hangouts thing. So this is what the guy actually looks like.
Cool.
Nice.
Sure. Club and all.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, he might have pressed the wrong button.
Hopefully that didn't fuck with the stream.
That was really cool. I was really worried about how that was going to go, and then it seems Ashros answered my prayers.
Yeah. So much for him keeping his word, like I was told 15 times.
Yeah. Well, how were we to know he was a demon? You know, Lucirosi doesn't use his corrupt sense all willy-nilly.
There you go.
I wound up getting logged out.
Your name's changed.
Yeah, I know.
You used to be Beard Lord Alpha, now you're Pyrotheus Ignis Day.
There you go.
Oh boy.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's going to continue to record. So we may lose stuff after this, since I'm not really logged in as the moderator anymore.
Well, you know, we'll take good notes.
It's in the void.
So let me reorder this list. So you can see almost at once that there is almost like a black fog that begins to come off this guy, like a miasma that's moving out from his body, that's represented by the green circle. Helwyr, you are like totally right in the middle of this. And although your body feels as though it's on fire, you're not actually taking fire damage.
Oh.
It's incredibly painful, but you're not suffering damage. Whereas it seems as if this creature does appear to be burning and on fire. And you can still see there is like a bolt of light that is coming from the now eclipsed sun that just still seems to be burning into him, but it's fading very quickly and probably will stop damaging him within a round or so. And yes, the creature is, in fact, the walking stick that he had been carrying has transformed into this giant club that he has over his shoulder.
Alrighty.
Which he, in his anger, is going to, I guess, bring down on Helwyr. So first he reaches out and he claws at Helwyr. But remember, I don't know how much armor you normally wear, but you don't have it right now.
Oh, cool. That's all right. He was going to hit anyway, so.
Yeah, no,
Right.
no shit.
So that's 20. Yeah, cool.
That's 20.
Whew.
And you feel as his claw strikes you, you feel your skin begin to wither under his touch. So it's, you're not sure exactly why, but it's probably the necrotic energy. He then lashes out with his club.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, cool.
But that's his turn. Zarius, you're up.
All right, I'm making sure I got all my spells that I have prepared in my freaking list. Being a cleric is so annoying in this. Where you at? There you are. I thought I had that in here, but apparently I don't. Nope. All right. Shit. Oh yeah. So can I get a read on the crowd here?
They're full on about to panic. They're just slower than you.
Okay. So I mean, it's not really within the normal, use of the spell, at least not in the description. But do I think that perhaps calm emotions might help at least a group of them to more calmly leave and not rush and trample people?
It